Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Picnic Table Chat Show. It is season 8, episode 14, and it is boiling hot. It's absolutely roasting hot over here. I don't know what it's like for you, wherever you may be, but it is absolutely ridiculous in the office today. We have got fans and stuff go. Well, we've had fans and stuff going and windows open all day. It's just been ridiculous. Bear in mind, my seat is actually in the glare of the sun, so like I'm getting like fully blazed sunburnt from it. The rest of the room isn't too bad. I mean, the tanks are still at normal temperature, but I am roasting. My days. So make sure you're looking after yourselves and drinking plenty in this weather because it is hot. But anyways, enough of that. So answering Ant Farm Supplies question. Now we are feeding Polyrachus dives the top tank. Yes, I am in my tank top. I live in my vests, either that or topless, to be honest. Very rarely wear shirts. I was saying this to someone earlier. I don't actually like sleeves on my arms. I don't know why. It started when I was like 7, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just the way I am. Anyway, so we're feeding loads of roaches to the dives today. It's not a proper feeding day because we're doing more pork chops, but we fed them the pork chop a few days ago. Pretty much all disappeared within days. And now, yeah, they're like this. So I decided to chuck some more roaches in. And yeah, they're pretty hectic. I mean, you can barely see the roaches Spent the day in an ice rink. That's very lucky. I absolutely love ice skating. It's something I did when I was a teenager. I got quite good at it actually. One of the local venues we went to quite often had ice skating rink there in Plymouth, actually, Plymouth Pavilions, and I spent many nights there skating about. It was good fun. I do love it, but there's actually no ice rinks anywhere near me. I don't think there's any in Dorset. Sometimes at Christmas they set one up in town. Sometimes at Christmas there's one in Bournemouth, but I think the closest one is probably Bristol or Plymouth. I'm not really sure. It's a long old way away. I know that. There's very little to do around Weymouth if you're looking for that sort of entertainment. We don't have like laser age or anything like that, or paintballing or any of the really cool activities. I mean, we don't even have a bowling alley anymore. Our bowling alley in Weymouth, the ceiling collapsed in, and like they haven't done anything about it since. So we haven't even got that anymore. Massive shame. So let's talk a little bit more about the Polyrachus dives. They have now expanded their nest all the way to the left corner of the tank, which is quite a considerable distance actually. And it looks like they're going to build down from that section, which is going to add like another probably like 10, I don't know, probably about, it's going to add a lot of space. It's going to add probably near on half a foot to the nest when they finish that construction, which is going to be insane. Just so many more ants. So we're looking at building an extension. Luckily, I have just been given some more tanks from the amazing Cookie Reptiles Paul. He'll probably be appearing in the chat very soon. He's literally just left about 10 minutes before we started streaming. And yeah, they have, he's donated me a couple of new tanks, so it looks like we'll be expanding into one of those fairly soon, just to give them that more space again. I don't like seeing them overcrowded, you know, and there is a lot of them, so I need to keep expanding them and give them more room to more outworld space, you know, as well as they've got that they've got the big tank basically turned into a big nest, and I just got to keep adding loads of extra space. I think what I need really is a whole room just to give to them, but I can't do that. I would love to do that. Oh dear. Oh, speaking of Cookie Reptiles, he was actually really kind, and yesterday he came with me to a local event. Now I have posted about it, you probably heard me talk about it quite a lot, but we went over to it was on Portland, so I say we went over. It was literally we drove up the road to a local event. It was the Portland Environmental Fair. It was really good fun, actually. It wasn't like hectically busy, but I can honestly say we were probably the busiest ones there. We were nice and busy all day. Had people at our stall all day. It was really good. So he came up with me, brought through a few of his darts and his geckos, I think they are. Crested gecko things. Brought a couple of them up, and he was showing them whilst I was showing all of my inverts, all the millipedes. They got handed around all over the place, obviously. And yeah, it was great fun. We really enjoy those sorts of events. The less sort of selling event like my sort of like with trade stalls, and more just to come in and have some fun. And there was some really cool stuff there. There was like a bee circus where they came out and sang about bees and all dressed up, and that was really good actually. It was more of like a circus act, you know. It was very good, and there was lots of other cool stuff there. It was a great day out. Like I say, Paul came up with me, so that was quite handy not to be like, because the last one we did in Weymouth, we did a free event at the Weymouth Library just after the Sheffield event, and only 50 people signed up to come, but over 200 came, and I was completely overwhelmed. There was like queues going out the door, and it was just me on my own. So I took someone with me yesterday just in case. And yeah, like I say, we were quite busy all day. We had people coming, people almost coming back to us like, there you go, Paul, thank you for coming in, Paul. Yeah, it was really good. Like, people were coming back all day and coming back to hold and see more and ask more questions, loads of questions, and obviously we like lots of questions. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Definitely going to be doing some more local events again soon. Now it's coming into the season for local events. I have signed myself up to quite a few different events. In fact, we're going to be at the Halloween show. I think I mentioned this already as well. I can't even tell you the details because my brain doesn't allow me to take things in like that. There it is. It is Suffolk Maidenhall, Recreation Way, the Jubilee Centre, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Exactly the same as I do my show, so that's nice and easy to remember. On the 4th of the 11th. So if you're around Suffolk or in that area, or even just want to come have a look, come down to check out that show. It's going to be a great day. It's set up by Amazing Reptiles. Again, Phil Barber, absolute legend. We all know Phil. So this is going to be his first show that him and his parents are setting up. Let's go over there and show them some support, obviously. We're going to be there. We've got a nice big pitch. We're going to be taking up loads of awesome stuff. So, yeah, do come over and check us out if you're there. We're also, well, Ants on a Rock, but not Ants on a Rock. Me, not as a shop, but me, myself, and I am going to the show. When is it? Not next weekend, the weekend after, up in Milton Keynes, I think it is. I keep forgetting. But again, Paul's going to take me up there. It's going to be an absolute brilliant day. I'm not, like I say, not going as a shop. I'm mainly just going up to meet people, get a few things myself, and just sort of hang about in the hobby, you know. The best sort of thing about these events is meeting people. So let's get to them and meet some people. So I'm just having a sip of energy drink. Yes, I know I need to stop drinking them, but I can't. This one's watermelon, so it's got to be good for you, isn't it? That's basically a fruit in a can. It even says 0 sugar, to be fair. Like, that's probably why I still need to drink coffee, because I'm not getting enough sugar from the energy drinks. Oh, that's bad, isn't it? That is bad. Oh, dear. What was I going to say? Ah, the show, Out From Surprise, it was just a real small local event, like, and I say really small. I think there was about less than 10 pitches, and it was in a hall here in Portland, just a little like old school hall. I think a medieval school hall, or very old, anyways. You know, maybe not medieval, but Victorian at least. Old, we'll say old school hall. And yeah, it was just a nice sort of chilled event. I don't know. I didn't approach them or anything. They contacted me literally about 2 weeks ago and were like, "Oh, we've been trying to remember for months who it was that ran the company and whatnot, and then we finally remembered. So we thought we'd give you a ring." And yeah, they left me a voicemail. Actually, I answered it and I was like, "Yeah, of course I'll come along to that. It's like up the road. It'd be silly for me not to be at a local environmental fair. That would just be ridiculous." So yeah, we got on up to that. It was great fun. Oh, the one in Milton Keynes in a few weeks. Paul, can you chuck in some details about that for me, please, buddy? Because I haven't got much of a clue. I think it's the IHS, but I always forget. I get things confused. Paul knows better than I do. It should be a good day out, you know. They are normally. Yeah, but I don't. And events are Bristol only about 60-ish days away, 61, 62 days away, something like that, which isn't actually that far. It's super exciting. I keep going on about it really for our Bristol event. They say all the organisation done, so I'm just like looking at it like, oh, I just wanted to get going. Just wanted to get going. There we go. Thank you, Paul. But yeah, so the Bristol show, like I say, there's going to be multiple car parks. There is information up on the website already. I think I'm going to be putting a map on that as well to tell you how to get to the car parks and where the car parks are, etc., etc., etc. If you're coming as a guest, if you're coming as a trader, obviously you'll get different information in your trade pack. So ignore the website. Yeah, I think that's about right. But yeah, so I'm super excited for the Bristol show. It's going to be a great day. Like, it's going to be our big one, I think. Something to top the rest of what we've done this year. And then obviously after that, I can start working on the next ones. Booking forms for next year's shows are already made, ready, and available. I just haven't started emailing or doing anything about it yet. But I'm super excited again. I've got some big plans for next year. Like, some big stuff already planned and booked in. So like, it's just a matter of doing the other bits. what I mean to say is it's really nice to be like ahead of myself for once. You know, it's taken a while to get to this point where we're fully off and at this point, you know. So yeah, it is a great feeling to be organized. Let's talk about something else because otherwise I'd go ramble on forever. Um, Steve the Snake. Let's have a little chat about Steve the Snake again. I mentioned in good evening, Dorset Gorilla Grower. Thank you for coming in. I don't think we've met before, so good evening and thank you. Steve the Snake, like I said, again, I need to say a massive thank you to Paul. Paul's come over regularly and he's helping me handle Steve and get used to Steve because I've never had snakes before, as you know, and it is one of those things I'm still a little bit etchy about. But Steve's awesome. I absolutely love Steve the Hognose, and like I say, Paul's been coming over. We fed him his first fuzzy the other day. Now fuzzies are obviously a lot bigger than the pinkies that we have been giving him, but he had it really well. Like it took a long time to go down, but mainly because it like he was getting stuck on one of his legs. Basically, he couldn't get his leg in his mouth. The minute he got that in, it went down really fast, and it was like, wow, yeah, okay. So yeah, we're gonna be feeding slightly bigger. Like we're gonna be feeding fuzzies from now on, and I can't wait. I'm waiting today because he's been really chilled today, and we only fed him. I think it was yesterday. And I say he's been really chilled and just kind of sat behind it. He's not in his hide, but he's behind his hide in still a dark, warmish area. So I'm just letting him chill, and then tomorrow I'll probably handle him again. Which I was still a little bit iffy about getting him out myself, but I do really enjoy handling him. Good evening, Sharon. Thank you for popping in. I do really enjoy handling them. Ah, there you go, Sharon. I'm just talking about Steve the Snake. He's doing really, really well. I say he's eaten really well, and it's awful when they go for a poop, though, isn't it? Now, being a non-snake owner before Steve, I didn't know about that, but when they poop, it is pretty grim. Ugh. So, but again, it's a good excuse for me to handle him whilst the wife cleans or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty grim. I don't know, wouldn't recommend rolling about in it, but then whatever you would don't roll about. Just ignore what I'm saying. But I like Steve. He's pretty cool. I don't think I'll ever get another snake. Like I might when he goes, but I don't want a collection of snakes. It's not something like with the ants where I was like, right, I want another colony, I want another colony. And same with tarantulas and most things really. But I don't think I'm like that with the snakes, probably because I'm still a little bit iffy about them, you know. But he is super awesome. I do recommend if you are scared of snakes or have that slight phobia or anything, go and hold one. Really, go and break down your fear because it is silly. You know, most snakes are fine. Some snakes are dangerous, I will admit, and the big ones are still very scary. Um, but most snakes are fine, and you know you shouldn't be scared of them. Respect them, but you shouldn't be scared of them. Steve is amazing, isn't he? He hissed yesterday. That was like the first time I've heard him hiss. Even when he struck at me, he didn't hiss. He just did a little strike. Um, but I heard him hiss yesterday at the fuzzy when we put it in and started wiggling, which is really cool. Again, it's a proper hiss. What you expect to hear? I know that's stupid, but it is a proper hiss like a snake. I've only ever seen it on telly and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever seen a snake hiss before. Like even when I've seen snakes, they just generally like licking their lips most of the time. They don't really hiss much. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then coming home from the show yesterday, see, I keep. Was it yesterday we fed Steve or the day before? It might have been the day before. I can't remember. But then coming home from the show yesterday, we looked in at the tadpole that we got from again Cookie Reptiles, and it's starting to get legs. So that is super exciting. The back legs, you can't see anything yet, but like the lumps are there, and like it won't take long for those lumps to turn into little stumps, and then the stumps to grow little feet. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm super excited to have a dart frog. I'm gonna have to get loads more on and set up tank and everything. Like now we've got loads of spare tanks. I must got about 5 spare tanks at the minute. I need to start doing stuff with it, but I need to put up more shelves and brackets and stuff. It's just time, and you know what it's like for me finding time. I'm a very, very busy person. I'm scared of ants and always. Rose Donna, you're scared of ants, or do you mean you're scared of snakes? Because you've got loads of ants. They're a really deep hiss. Huggies of very, very cool. Fed him on Friday. Yeah, it's Sunday today, isn't it? Monday tomorrow, and the kids aren't even back to school. Apparently, they've got the day off tomorrow, and they go back on Tuesday. Like, what kind of world do we live in where you go back to school on a Tuesday? Like, yeah, I did ants Dorset. Yeah, I just got one, and it, like I said, it's just starting to get its legs now. Nothing's there yet, but its back end is getting really fat. You know what I mean? So it's getting there. It won't be long. A few more weeks, and it will have legs and probably be hopping about. Like they get their back legs, then they get their front legs, then they'll start losing their tails. From what I've learned. So yeah, it is super exciting. I like watching the metamorphosis. I've got him on a shelf where I can like keep an eye on it every day. I just like to have a little watch and just see what's going on. You know, I have actually got a small enclosure ready for him. I'm calling it a him already. I don't know what it is. Hermaphrodites, aren't they? Actually, that's something I need to work out. Oh wow, okay, Rose Donna, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. You're scared of that. Yeah, I mean, I suppose most creepy crawlies are a bit like that until you get used to them, aren't they? We had people yesterday that didn't like want to even hold a millipede, and it's like it can't hurt you. Don't worry, don't worry. Lots of people broke their fears as well yesterday, which was really nice. We normally find right, it's the older generation that have fears, and the younger ones tend to like not care. It's definitely a learned fear, you know. Snakes as well as inverts and bugs and stuff. It's definitely a learned fear. Okay, there you go. 50-50 mix in each spawn. So it's not like Jurassic Park where they add in the frog DNA and they change from male to female or whatever it was so that they can breed. Because that would be a nightmare. And obviously, stick insects do that as well. There's a lot of things which do that actually in nature, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was going to happen with the frogs as well. I say I've got a little enclosure ready to go with a bit of land stuff, land area ready to go as well. But I just haven't decided to tip it in just yet because I like it on this shelf and I like keeping an eye on it. And once it's in that other enclosure, it won't be able to go on that shelf. It has to go on another shelf because I ran out of room on these shelves. Um, it won't be long, and I'll add in some more shelving units. And I don't know we're going to have to do the expansion and stuff probably faster than I want, but it is what it is. You know, you can never say no to more collection. I absolutely love it. As you know, it's my favorite things have been like feeding. Oh, the other day we fed the centipede a fuzzy as well. Was it a fuzzy? Yeah, I'm sure it was a fuzzy. Now, I normally only feed the centipede roaches and things like that, and it was like, it was brutal. And without being graphic, it tore its way in and it was like numbing it from the inside out. It was pretty brutal. Very, very cool to watch. Bit gross, but I'm into that sort of thing. Yeah, it was very cool. And what else has happened? What else has happened? There was lots of. Oh, I keep seeing Mario worms. So these jelly pots in with the Polyrhacus dives at the moment, they keep like slowly disappearing. And then when we go to pull them back out, they've got loads of Mario worms in. So we've got a nice, what's the word? I can't remember the word. Nice collection, we'll say. Nice collection of Mario worms living in this substrate at the moment. I wasn't sure if they were still coming out of the other tank and making their way across as beetles, but it does seem like they've got a massive amount of Mario worms in here as well. They probably all evacuated the big tank, to be fair. I wouldn't want to be hanging about in there. But as you saw, they do go up. I saw on the stream on Thursday. they do go over the bridges occasionally, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. The bridge at the minute is pretty much black with ants, much like the floor sections here where the roaches are. Like, you pretty much can't even see the roaches. I mean, if I didn't tell you they were roaches, you probably wouldn't know. Yeah, it's just a black ball of ants. I have no idea how many are in here at a minute, but it's quite scary. Parthenogenesis is where an animal can reproduce a clone of itself. Seen a few times in reptiles, very common in insects, yeah. And yes, yeah, it was fairly graphic. It's pretty awesome. Like I say, the centipede's one of my favourite because it is so brutal. Like, it's really interesting. I find their anatomy really interesting as well. Mainly the fact that we call them pincers. Their pincers are not part of their legs or their mouth. They were legs originally, but they've like evolved and mutated to be their pincers, and they are a separate entity completely. Like I say, not attached to the mouth, which most things like their pincers or teeth or whatnot are actually in their mouth. But yeah, not the centipede. It's just absolutely brutal. It's got like its own appendage designed for killing. Awesome. But we didn't see him for months. Probably most of the time that we've lived in this house, we didn't see him. And then he decided to come out the other day. He just very quickly ran across the tank. And I was like, okay, there he is. And then, yeah, he came out yesterday and we chucked or Friday, sorry, we chucked the fuzzy at him. Is it a fuzzy or a fluffy? Fuzzy. We're sure it's a fuzzy. I don't know. I don't know. I tell you one thing. I tell you one thing. I need to eat something with a load of iron in it because I slept for hours and I'm still absolutely knackered, which probably means my iron levels are low. Go look after yourself. In this sort of weather, you're losing a lot of things that you don't think about. So I think I'm low on iron. Fuzzy. There we go. What was I saying? Did I say fuzzy? I can't even remember what I said now. My days, my memory is awful sometimes, isn't it? That one thing which I'm not forgetting about, I'm really excited about this yet again. I have a radio interview coming up with Bristol Radio. Um, I don't often get to do interviews, although we were interviewed at the event on yesterday. But I don't often get to do interviews. As you know, I've done lots of interviews on these streams, like hundreds of interviews of people, and they've been great fun. But it's not often that I get to be interviewed. So I'm really looking forward to the Bristol event, get to talk about, not I'm looking forward to the Bristol interview, the radio interview, so that we get to talk about the Bristol event and all the things going on there. Hopefully, we're going to reach a good amount of like local people using that as a advertising channel. You know, it'd be really great to bring in loads of local, not just young people, but the adults as well in the local area and get them like interested in it. Really show them what it's about. You know, not just local people, anyone that's willing to travel, but it's not down. It's down the road for them and not far. If I could get like the whole of Bristol into ants, like even if they weren't buying off me, I'd be really happy. You know what I mean? Just because that's like the goal: get people interested in ants and the environment, and not just ants, but all inverts really. But it's mainly ants. I always say it's mainly ants, but it's all inverts. Whatever. Whatever. Whilst we're here and whilst we've got a few people watching the stream, I'm just going to have a quick mention. Ant Farm Supplies, I think he might still be in the chat, I'm not sure, but they have a new range of Outworlds available. Do check them out. They're pretty decent and at a really cracking price as well. Like, I don't normally mention things about price, but this is actually a really decent price for what you're getting. So do check out Ant Farm Supplies website if you're looking for any Outworlds at the moment. Check out their nests as well, because all the products are really good. But yeah, check out their new range. Just flick on over to their website. It's fairly easy to find. I think it's like www.antfarmsupplies.com. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's easy to find. Check them out. That's me saying my bit. And for some reason, it's like nearly 9:30, and I can hear children playing in my house still. They should be going to bed, I'm sure. I'm sure they should be going to bed. Oh well. I'm here looking at my Nikos, right, and they have huge amounts of eggs pressed up against the glass right now. And I'm talking probably good 50 or so pupa ready to pop any day now, followed by a load of smaller larvae and even some eggs next to them. Um, so, and this is something I keep getting told as well. At the moment, everyone's ants are starting to get really active. If you've got an active colony already, it's going to get really active. So do be aware that you need to start providing more food and water, and just be on it for your ants at the minute, because they are gonna, if they're gonna explode, they're gonna really explode at the minute. Which is not a bad thing, it's what we all want. But yeah, we've got to be prepared. I know. Basically, I've had a couple of messages now, just like, "Oh my god, I've been overwhelmed," and it's like, yeah, this is the weather doing it. It is great weather, not just the heat, but just the sort of environmental conditions at the moment are sort of thing ants love. They don't like the direct sunlight. Obviously, don't put your ants out in the sunlight either, because I had an email about like someone was trying to heat their ants by putting them out in the sun, and I had to advise them not to do it, just because just direct sunlight isn't great for inverts. It does dehydrate them very fast. So don't do that one. Just I mean, they're quite fine inside at this temperature, more than fine. Most ant species don't need heating at this temperature, or at least where I am in my office. I haven't got any heating elements on apart from the leaf cutters. They're on a automatic doodad, but I don't think it's clicked on all day because it's just been absolutely fine and not a problem at all. Ant Farm Supplies, you deserve a little shout out. You put a lot of effort into your products and the community, and you're a nice guy, so I don't mind giving you a little bit of a shout out as well. Oh, good. Oh dear, oh dear. So the leaf cutters are absolutely insane at the minute as well. I mean, I keep saying about you need to give them more food. No, I was refilling it like every day as it was, and I'm having to refill the feeding thing like 2-3 times a day now. It is just absolutely crazy the amount of leaf that they go through. We've gone for privet again today. I've noticed that they cut privet a lot slower than anything else that I give them. I don't know why. I suppose it is a thicker leaf, so that might actually be part of it, but I couldn't tell you. But yeah, so I give them tons of privet, but they've almost smashed all of that in. And now the hardest part, right? The hardest part of owning leaf cutters is getting the sticks back out afterwards, because you go to get the sticks out, which have no leaf left on them, and you can guarantee there's ants all over it. So you have to like pick off the ants one by one and wait until perfect opportune moment when there's no ants on that stick, or it's just really difficult. It's really difficult. I have a feeling we're going to be invaded by an Eevee in a minute. She might come in and shout at me. She might even come in and say hello. We'll have to wait and see what kind of mood she's in. I can hear her giggling. It's always a bit a bit scary when you can hear her coming. It's like a dum 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 dum. What's that from? Jurassic Park. I'm sure that's Jurassic Park. I'm not sure. Yeah. No. No. I can't remember, but it is what it is. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm watching Mesobarbarus, my colony of Mesobarbarus, right now on the shelf in front of me, are coming out in a long stream from their tunnel. There is about 30 to 50 workers in these test tubes. Test tubes are attached to the tunnel, attached to the outworld, the poor more setup. And yeah, there's a long stream of Mesobarbarus coming out into the outworld at the minute. Not all of them. They're not. I think they're just coming out and gathering more seeds and going straight back in by the looks of it. I have recently just fed everyone some more seeds, so because we've got 5 barbarous colonies up on the sides at the minute. Good evening, Arizona Antkeeper. Thank you for coming in. We've got 5 Mesa barbarous colonies up on the sides at the minute. We've got Mesa Structor there, Mesa Minor there, the Mesa anything that I can't pronounce what it is. And I've just locked my office. Oh, there we go. We won't be getting invaded now because I've locked my office. Yeah, we've got loads of harvester ant colonies at the minute. So I did them separately today just because it's a bit easier to do harvester ants, and I'll do the main feed again tomorrow. It is it's a long job feeding all the rest of them. What other colonies we got? We got loads of. That's the formica shelf. We got like 4 formicas. We got loads of campos. We got all the monomorium, as well as all the big tanks and everything as well. Can the leaf cutters have pansies? As I've got some seeds to grow. I don't know. They're safe for sort of tortoise to eat. That's an interesting one. I do think they can. I've tried them on a good majority of things, and as long as the leaf is kept clean and whatnot, it's not like covered in fertilizers and pesticides and stuff. I'm happy to try them on pretty much anything. They'll either eat it or they won't, or they won't eat it, but they'll either take it or they won't, I should say. Um, so yeah, Ant Farm Supplies. Jaws, have I confused? That's it. It is Jaws, isn't it? Dun, dun, dun. Yes, thank you, my days. Yes. So you just say Jaws at me, and I was like, hang on, what? And so Paul mentioned earlier that there's quite a delay to some of the comments, like me getting the comments, because that literally only just come through. Don't know how long ago you put it up there, but it literally only just come through. So yeah, sometimes there's a bit of a delay to me getting comments, and it's like, hang on, what? Jaws? What was I talking about? Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's always worth a try. I mean, they'll take most things because most things contain what it needs. I suppose the enzymes, the water, the nectar. Sorry, my brain just went completely blank there. It's like something the sap. That's the word I was looking for. Sap, not nectar. But wow, that was interesting. So I was talking to someone yesterday, and they mentioned something which. No, I'm not. I never say anyone's completely 100% wrong because it's just not what I do. But this gentleman was mentioning that ants have poisonous saliva or something like that, and it killed off his plants. Now, I was a little bit bewildered. I kind of stayed away from the conversation and let my wife deal with that. But it got me thinking. Now, what could he mean? Why would ants? Because ants don't really have poisonous saliva that's going to kill off all your fruit plants and things. They just don't do that. But what they do is they farm aphids. Now, they have been known to farm aphids to the point where it will kill the plants. So that, being fruit plants, that is quite likely to be what happened, I think. Like, I might be wrong. Okay, might be wrong, but like I said, I think that would have been what happened because obviously they move about the aphids, like they carry the aphids to where they want them, and they farm them, and they drink the honeydew that's produced from their backs. So yeah, they quite likely killed off his fruit bushes that way, which I thought was really interesting. Like to actually hear about it, like obviously I need more evidence, and I wasn't even part of the conversation. I was over listening to my wife talking about it with this gentleman, and I say I never say anyone's wrong because until proven wrong, you might be right. You know what I mean? That's it. Acidic saliva that destroyed the roots of his fruit trees. See, I just can't. Like they do kill plants if they dig up the roots. They kill. I mean, we can see that in my bullet ant tank. There was more plants in there, lots more. Um, and same as this one, they've killed off plants before they even took off. Really, ants will kill plants, especially if they're digging. But I don't think it's an acidic saliva. Like not that I've ever come across in my research, and I mean, no, say I might not have researched it. Or it might be something that I've missed every time. But I've done a fair bit of research and it's not something I've come across. Whatever. It's always interesting to hear different people's stories. There's quite a lot of people. The main thing that gets me about talking to general public, so I'm going to have to take my top off. I'm literally sat here sweating. Whoa, that's a bit better. Right, so the main thing that gets me about talking to the generalized public is when they say red ants hurt and black ants are fine. It's like you realise my bullet ants are black. These Polyrhacus dives are black. Like Formica are mainly black. Like it doesn't annoy me, but it makes me chuckle every time I have to correct them. It's one of those things like, no, only the Nigers are okay. Because even, did you know, Lasius niger are actually one of the UK's most aggressive ant species, but they've got no way of hurting you. But they are actually really aggressive. Like you just wouldn't know it. So they are fine unless you're a little insect, and then they'll pull you apart. And then we've got things like Myrmecoruba and whatnot, which are red and they sting. That's fair enough. But you go out to the woods and go get bitten and stung by the Formica. Like they don't really sting; they bite and then spray you with acid. But they hurt. You go out to the tropics and get stung by a bullet ant or something. That will hurt. And they're all black ants. I mean, yes, the UK we've got like 56, maybe slightly more now, but we've got around 50 to 60 species of ants in the UK. Most of them, I would like to say, are black or more black than red. But the majority of them will hurt if they bite or sting or whatever. Yeah. So it is one of those common misconceptions I find, that everyone thinks that the red ones are going to hurt you and the black ones are fine. I mean, I've had to explain this to my grandparents so many times. Oh dear. The other thing is when they pour boiling water out of the kettle onto a nest, that you realise how little you're actually doing, like how very little you're doing to that nesting colony. You might hurt a few workers, you might, but I very much doubt it's getting to the queen. You might be warming her up and making a more humid environment, in fact. But whatever, Nana, you keep pouring your kettle over that ant nest. They don't really do it anymore. Now I've taught them about ants, but back when I was young, that is something I remember they used to do. In fact, they used to do it at nuptial flight time, which is really bad, isn't it? Because the flying ants would be out and it's time to get the kettle out, I suppose. Speaking of kettles, I really need a coffee. Lots of sugar in the coffee at a minute, and really strong coffees on top of the energy drinks. But I don't know, so tired. I've literally got like 4 different lists of jobs built up now that I'm slowly working my way through, but I'm just so tired. Right, the main issue, right, is I'm waking up tired, so then it's taking me like an hour or two to get going. And then by about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun moves round the window and it comes straight in. Like, and it is like that until about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30, and it is a nightmare. So the last few days where it's been really hot, so I can barely sit at my desk because the sun literally comes straight in onto the desk. It's like, wow, it is roasting hot here. I'm going to get sunburnt sat at my desk, not in my desk. I mean, I could get in it. It's pretty buggered, actually. If I got in it, it wouldn't be a desk anymore. Oh dear. I think I'm going to be getting out down for some nature walks soon. See what local wildlife I can find. It is a great time of year for it because everything's starting to pick up, breeding, and yeah, it's a great time of year for it. That's why we just done no mow May, isn't it? Because all the inverts are out breeding in the grass. We've only just cut ours here, and it's already grown, which is absolutely insane. We won't go into that now because I'll just start ranting off about how I have to cut grass all the time. But what? It is growing fast. But yeah, we got some really cool stuff just in our garden, loads of jumping spider. In fact, we found a jumping spider in the house. It's not ours. So we've got some really cool stuff here, and I know locally we've got some actually amazing wildlife. So I'm going to get out whilst it is beautiful sunshine and probably do some filming, but just do some general walking about and enjoying the island again. I sit in this office far too much. You know, when you just get into your work and you sit there and you're doing nothing, and like, well, you're working, but you're not going out, is my point. You're not doing anything and like not enjoying world or sun. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get out more this year. I spent way too long in the office last year. Yeah, all right, Paul. Yeah, that's cool. I know that island pretty well, so it's not really exploring, but it is, I suppose. How well do you know the island? Like, I know I've been here about 7 years, maybe 8 years now. I know it pretty well. I've walked most areas at least once or twice. In fact, when I used to do running, I used to run around the island. I'd get to about 17 or 18 miles and I'd run out of places to run to because it was like I was doing zigzags up and down the streets, sort of thing. It's only what, like 5 miles, something like that, 6 miles long and 2 miles wide or something. So it's not a massive island. To get 17 to 20 miles out of it, you're doing quite well. Right. The thing is, if you cross the beach road into Weymouth, you've got like a long old way to come back again. And it's like you either do that at the start, but if you start in Portland, you're not going to run to Weymouth after. Although I did used to do that. In fact, like one time I ran Portland and then I ran to Weymouth, met up with someone in like about halfway to Weymouth, a place called Wyke, and then we ran from Wyke all the way to the Pier Bandstand, which is right on the seafront, and then we ran all the way back, and then I ran back to Portland. That was probably a good 30 odd miles I ran that day. I don't know. I used to enjoy it, not so much anymore. I'm far too tired for that. Want to see the World War II shooting range? Ah, the ghost tunnels. Yes, ghost tunnels up top. I can show you them. In fact, they're not even that far from here. It's like a 10-minute walk, maybe 15-minute walk, half an hour if you're with the kids. But yeah, the ghost tunnels are really cool. Very kind of, not really for me because I'm a grown up, but when you're a kid and they call them the ghost tunnels, if you go there at night, they are pretty eerie. You know, they are the old anti-aircraft batteries, and then on the actual cliff edge you had a couple of anti-sea batteries, but the anti-aircraft batteries come with all the tunnels which go underground and rooms where the ammunition was kept, and it's quite eerie, I suppose. I remember I went in there as a teenager once and there was like a Ouija board on the floor and it was like, okay, this is pretty intense, guys. Let's get out of here. Um, but as an adult, you look at it, you kind of like, okay, well, that's just an empty thing. You know, you make of it what you make of it. If you get kind of intimidated and scared in those situations, I wouldn't advise going to the ghost tunnels late at night. But then right next to the ghost tunnels, there's a place called Fancy's Farm where you can go and like pet a goat and see a willoughby. Is it willoughby? Wallaby? Wallaby. Willoughby. What? Wallaby? Kangaroo thing. Miniature kangaroo thing, we'll call them that. And you got lots of cool animals you can go out there and feed. So that's like literally minutes away. In fact, most of the buildings they use are part of the old military complex, which again is actually a really interesting place because in Portland, most of the island's hollow. The amount of quarrying, caves, and we've got a nuclear bunker on the island as well. So, like, most of the island's hollow. And one of the entrances for the nuclear bunker is actually in Fancy's Farm. It's in one of the outbuildings. Obviously, it's all blocked up now. But yeah, it's actually in one of the outbuildings. That's how it used to be the radar center, I believe. Fancy's Farm is now. Was all the buildings for the radar center, which was attached to the barracks and whatnot. During the war, the prison was actually used as a barracks, repurposed from when it was originally built as a barracks, because it wasn't originally a prison. It was originally built to house soldiers and whatnot, and then they repurposed it as a prison. Then they repurposed it as barracks again, and then they used it as a prison. Now it holds sex offenders. So it's a great place. I think it holds sex offenders still. I'm not sure. I know it did for a while. We had Gary Glitter here, actually, and all of that lot. It was Gary Glitter, wasn't it? I try not to pay much attention, to be honest. It's not the sort of thing you want to be thinking about. But we've got like 2, maybe 3 prisons on the island, and at one point we even had a prison ship. Really interesting stuff if you're into that sort of stuff. It is quite interesting, but again, it's a grim side of our history here on the island. But I am heading towards the end of the stream now. If you've got any questions, comments, please do put them in. And if you've got anything you want me to talk about in the next streams, please do put them in as well. I'm taking suggestions and I will put in topics and subjects and whatever. So if you've got anything you want me to talk about, any subjects you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. That even rhymed. That almost sounded like it was planned. It really wasn't. And if you haven't yet and you feel like I deserve it, feel free to hit that like button and obviously hit the sub button if you haven't as well, because that always helps out the channel too. But you're all absolutely awesome. I don't expect anything from you, so you don't have to if you don't want to. I just appreciate you being here, especially giving comments and feedback. Absolutely awesome, spectacular, making my life a little bit easier when people talk back. I will say it's incredibly hard sitting here sometimes and just chatting to myself. But it's always good fun, but it's always made funner when people comment back. I got a message after the last stream, and this one made me smile. And it was someone saying that I should start a radio show, or have I ever thought of being a radio host? I was like, actually, I've heard that quite a few times now. No problem, Ants on the Rock. Your staff are coming in. Species highlight videos. Yeah, cool. We can do a few of that. See, I need to start showing off more species than the ones that we stream, but we tend to stream the more interesting ones to watch. A lot of the other colonies on the shelves are smaller or subterranean. There's an Eevee in the background. We could stream the bullet ants, but again, they don't really they don't swarm like this. There's not this sort of activity. But yeah, we can definitely show off some more species and talk a bit about them. I don't talk about the other species enough. I've got some really interesting ants, especially the ones that aren't for sale, the ones that are just my own personal colonies. Really cool things here. Oh, nearly dropped that. It's the worst thing ever when you drop your pen, isn't it? Not the worst thing ever, but it's quite annoying. I mean, there's a lot worse. Speaking of which, did anyone see that train crash in India? Wow, that's pretty brutal. I think over 300 dead now and something like 900 injured. So thoughts go out to them, obviously. Bit of a tragedy. I really do hope that it highlights it. Well, it has highlighted again that the Indian government need to work on their infrastructure and train locomotion infrastructure, because it is a major thing in their country. And the president there is looking to make his third term, and to do so he is aiming or telling people that he's going to improve the locomotion infrastructure. So I really do hope he holds to his promises and does exactly that, because like I say, their infrastructure, their roads, their trains, everything over there is overcrowded and massive accident. So like I say, thoughts go out to all of them and all the families of those involved. But I am gonna pretty much end it on that note. Again, a massive thank you to everyone for joining in. It sounds like Evie's in a good mood behind me, having a little giggle about something. Massive thank you to everyone for joining me tonight. You've been amazing. Come back and join me every Wednesday and Sunday. Same time, same place. You know how it works. And it's all good fun. Massive thank you to our sponsors, Answer Us and Valhalla Martial Arts. Obviously supporting us the way they do. It's enabled us to continue going for as long as we have. Season 8, episode 14. I don't know how many episodes that is, but we're probably in about 200 odd episodes of this now. It's pretty cool. So massive thank you to our sponsors for supporting us. And of course, a massive thank you to our Patreon supporters as well. It means the world to me that anyone would want to support me in that way. Obviously, you don't have to. I'm not going to hold it against anyone if they don't, but it is amazing that people want to do that. It is an option if you want to do it. Check it out, but no pressure either way. It's just another way of supporting us. But the main thing you can do to support us, no one's found it yet, Ants Dorset. It's still out there, I'm afraid. So yeah, if you want to go, you can do it, Ant Dorset, because you had the last one still, I'm afraid. But anyone else who's watching now, if you want to go back through the videos and try and find the hidden code, there is a hidden gift code in the top right-hand corner of one of our videos. And click on it, you'll get the gift code. You'll be the first one to find it. Use it on the website, and it's free money. But you got to find it first. Okay, I'll have a look at that in a minute, Rose-Donna. Thank you for letting me know. And yeah, I think that's about it. The main way you can support us, go get a ticket for the next show, go grab some raffle tickets, and that's all I'm going to say. So, as always, from me, thank you very, very much, everyone. It has been great fun tonight. And I will see you again soon. Good night.